Kayaknya di Indonesia belum ada deh kayak gitu.
Loh, saya kan pakai.
Pak Budi, keren banget.
Banyak tukang tapel di Indonesia, tapi dia harus punya knowledge.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have a horseshoe here, see?
Yeah,
It's so big. Ini
It's probably draft horse.
It's a draft horse.
Yeah, itu bisa draft horse, call it the blacksmith.
A blacksmith. Oh yeah, he dropped everything and he moved.
Yeah.
He changed his whole life just to be with you, to study every day ya.
Yeah. Antara farrier and vet itu selalu berhubungan. Hari Minggu tuh sekolah ada acara olahraga bersama kan. Nah saya nggak pernah hadir. Saya hadirnya di kandang kuda.
I love horses since I was like 3 tahun, and it's basically been my compass is like horses.
Kalau dia napelnya nggak bener, kan kasihan kudanya, sakit. Lalu kudanya kan nggak bisa ngomong.
And the horse ends up standing on one side. Hey, the horse is actually wonky, tapi masih di Indonesia.
Kamu mau jawaban honest nggak? Dia taunya kan saya dari Amerika, jadi dia selalu bilangnya bukan Pak atau Mas. Mister
Budi.
Saya tahu di Indonesia that we need somebody who understand about hoof. Saya memang niat untuk membangun equestrian di Indonesia. Ada pressure kuat. Lalu dia ada lagi. Ini cukup kuat untuk menahan. Hey.
Hi, welcome to Equine Talks. This is Saskia Binge. And this is a channel where we talk about all things tentang kuda because every horse matters. In the equestrian world, one of the most important and crucial roles in any horse's life is obviously the job of a farrier. Because as people know the saying, no hooves, no horse. And why is this important? Because horses need their feet to move around, and obviously without their feet, they can't move and they can't do activities and they can't jump. So having a farrier is really, really important if you have a horse. And then what's even more fascinating that here in Indonesia, we have one person that's super special, and he's here with us today. He's one of the, I think one of the few or only people here in Southeast Asia that's actually a registered farrier. And we're super honored to have him here on our podcast today. And he's not only a farrier, dia juga rider, show jumper. He does and he holds equestrian events. You name it. He's really cool, and we have him here on our podcast today. So I'm super excited to introduce you, Pak Budi Tulodo.
Hai, selamat malam.
Thank you for being here on our podcast today.
Thank you for inviting me here.
So tadi Pak Budi dari mana hari ini? Like, where did you come from today?
I was at Artayasa.
Oh yeah? What were you doing?
Like, just go around. Now I go to Artayasa almost every week.
Oh wow!
Spend 3 days, 4 days, sometime 1 week, just to work together with Artayasa again.
Cool. Are you also doing the shoeing juga ya?
Ya, saya juga buat penapelan ya.
Oh ya?
Ya, farrier. Ya banyak kuda lah yang harus ditapel. Tapi intinya memang harus banyak tukang tapel di Indonesia, tapi dia harus punya knowledge.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the problem. That's the main problem in Indonesia is just they need a knowledge. Yeah. Because when you start shoeing horse, it's not about how you put shoes on. That's easier. That's the easy part. But how to balance, you have to know the mechanical of the foot. From the knees down.
That's right. Yeah, benar. Yeah, it must be super. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously we all know without the hoof, without the horse, no horse. But we have a horseshoe here. See?
Yeah.
It's so big.
It's probably draft horse.
It's a draft horse.
Yeah. See?
It's so big. It's America left the nails. I think my mom got it at Walmart.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It's super random. She's like, Sas, I
Emang
got
di England ada Walmart?
Enggak di US.
Oh.
My sister went to like some course the US. Jadi high school graduation, sorry. Jadi she went to Walmart and then they had it. This is very big dong.
Iyalah.
So it has like
Ya.
4.
bisa.
You can put 3 or 4 in here. Well, I mean on top of the 2. This is for what? How many kilo horse ini kira-kira?
Itu bisa draft horse, itu bisa 800 probably.
800 kilos? Gila. Di Indonesia jarang ya kayak gini ya. So, yeah, first things first, boleh nanya deh. So what is a farrier? Not everyone mungkin tahu ya kalau kita ngomong farrier. Kan ada yang juga ngomong tukang tapel. What do you think? Like, what's the official definition
Farrier,
of farrier?
farrier
What's
is
the role?
actually long time ago they call it the blacksmith.
A
right?
blacksmith. Oh
In
yeah,
English,
blacksmith. Yeah.
But in Indonesia also they call it a pandai besi.
Pandai besi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Karena.
Yeah, they make a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
From the steel. Then now people know here is tukang tapel.
Iya ya.
There is no specific word.
No
for,
specific word,
yeah, no.
Oh ya?
Yeah, like in English they have farrier.
Farrier,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Betapa pentingnya ya, Pak Budi, orang penapel or like orang tapel in hidupnya kuda ya?
Betulnya kalau punya kuda tuh yang awal memang satu kuku. Karena kuda kalau kukunya nggak benar, dia nggak balance, terus dia akan merubah semua strukturnya. Tulang-tulangnya dari tulang Ovin bone, pastern, fetlock, cannon bone, knees up to the shoulder.
Iya.
Itu bisa berubah semua. Makanya seberapa pentingnya tukang tapel itu penting sekali, vital.
Iya.
Jadi memang di samping itu ada grooms kan, groom itu penting. Tapi tukang tapel itu mungkin dia bisa lebih penting selain groom. Karena kalau kuda nggak balance ya gimana mau jalannya?
Iya, benar-benar. Ya, like mungkin ini ada juga yang pertanyaan awam yang beberapa orang nanya ya. Kok kuda domestik, like here now you talking about betapa pentingnya tapel, like kenapa kuda domestik perlu ditapal tapi kuda liar enggak?
Ya kuda
What
liar.
does that tie into?
Memang kalau sekarang kalau lihat di Sumba ya, itu semua kuda nggak ada yang ditapel. Dia semua dilepas di alam. Dia pulang ya kadang dipotong kukunya, tapi dia nggak dipotong kukunya kan dia adjust sendiri itu. Kan kukunya pecah-pecah. Kan groundnya juga kan nggak selalu smooth. Ada yang batu apa. Nah disitulah dia tumbuh callus, kapalan.
Kapalan ya?
Iya, jadi kukunya dia kuat tapi ya hancur, pecah gitu. Tapi dia kuat gitu. Dan dia bisa balance sendiri. Karena kalau sudah pakai tapel, kan kuku nggak bisa adjust. Begitu ditempel tapel, kuku dia nggak bisa adjust mau ke sana mau ke sini. Dia selalu ya sama. Karena kalau dia nggak pakai tapel, dia bisa adjust. Dia sakit di sini ya dia bisa gini sendiri.
Ya.
Gitu.
So just ties in the importance of walking a lot ya in
Yeah.
horses ya.
Yeah.
Bedanya kenapa kuda domestik versus kuda liar?
Yeah.
It's because kuda liar walking all the time.
Yeah, walking all the time.
Whereas-
and they adjust the ground.
Tapi domestic horses are inside.
Yeah.
More,
But
yeah.
some domestic horses also can be not shoe.
Not shoot. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Because the horse that I rode for jumping also without shoes.
Iya. I think dulu juga pas aku naik di UK, kalau misalnya kudanya hanya untuk riding school atau apa, kita hanya napel depannya. tapi
Iya,
belakangnya
belakangnya enggak. Iya,
Karena kan
memang.
it's only arena
Yeah.
terus
Because 60%,
kandang.
yeah, 60% is on the front.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Kan your whole life is about horses, right? At this moment now, same like me. I love horses since
Yeah.
I was like 3 tahun,
Yeah.
and it's basically been my compass is like
Yeah.
horses. So emang dari Pak Budi juga dari kecil suka kuda
Iya,
atau
memang.
it's just like in the when
Iya.
you're older and then you're
Dari kecil saya.
Kecil ya.
Jadi waktu saya kecil, kata orang tua saya umur 3 tahun tuh udah suka senengnya naik kuda-kuda poni. Di Senayan dulu ada, di depan Plaza Senayan tuh betul dulu tuh ada tempat naik kuda.
That's so cool.
Terus ke puncak, naik kuda-kuda dituntun.
Oh ya.
Selalu mintanya kuda gitu. Jadi ya sama ibu saya dimasukinlah saya ke Satria Kinayungan. Disitulah saya mau pulang malam, mau tiap hari ke sana, ibu saya udah nggak pernah marah. Dan saya pun udah nggak bandel, nggak nangisin adik-adik gitu kalau kecil. Terus dikasih tahu dengar gitu.
So cute.
Terus semua apa aja. Begitu saya SMP kelas 2, dunia saya sudah 360 derajat sudah di kuda.
Wow.
Jadi saya udah nggak pernah main sama teman-teman. Saya banyak teman-teman sekolah, cuman ya udah nggak pernah main. Jadi kalau dulu kan hari Minggu tuh sekolah ada acara olahraga bersama kan. Nah saya nggak pernah hadir. Saya hadirnya di kandang kuda.
That is so funny. That's actually really, really cute. So basically you are dari berapa tahun? That was like SD ya? SD all the way up to now, you just live and breathe horses dong?
Iya. Yang lainnya hanya kalau saya ada waktu seneng-seneng aja, mau misalnya ada side business apa ya cuman hanya untuk lewat aja gitu. Terus saya,
Do you have any hobbies selain kuda?
dulu water ski, sekarang
Wow.
dulu
Did not know
dulu saya water ski, hobi saya ya sebenarnya dari dulu saya seneng alam, jadi saya seneng
Outdoors, ya?
ya sama
Outdoors.
alam, terus ngeliat-ngeliat hewan liar lah. Saya seneng ke hutan. Naik gunung jarang, ya jarang lah, tapi saya seneng ke alam.
Oh yeah, outdoorsy person lah.
Iya, saya tahun baru aja di gunung,
Wow, gunung.
di alam. Waktu itu ke Ijen sama anak-anak saya.
Oh, that's so nice. This past year?
Enggak, 2023.
Oh, that's
Iya.
nice.
Terus
So awesome.
last year also saya ke Banyuwangi ke tempat penangkaran penyu. Jadi kita tengah malam keluar ke pantai, tapi nggak boleh tapi itu protected area ya. Jadi memang apa sih kalau hutan lindung itu apa?
Protected.
Conservation.
Oh, UNESCO. Kayak the conservation gitu ya.
Iya. Jadi kita keluar
Wow.
ke pinggir pantai, nggak boleh ada sinar, nggak boleh apa, gelap banget. Jadi guide-nya cari ada penyu yang mendarat nggak.
That's so cool.
Saya ke sana ngeliat tuh ada penyu yang mendarat, terus dia naruh telur. Nah dia di conservation itu ada penangkaran penyu, jadi telurnya itu diambil sama mereka, ditangkarin sini karena kan banyak predator kan,
Oh, iya.
babi hutan atau monyet itu suka ngambilin.
Wow.
Ya, jadi dia ternakin sendiri, netesin. Udah gitu kita rilis pagi-pagi, gitu.
Ini boleh nanya nggak, Om Budi?
Nggak boleh.
Ini kan Pak Budi kan juga belajar farrier lah in Amerika ya. And kenapa sih kok bisa tiba-tiba ke USA untuk study tentang farrier and qualify?
That's a long story though.
Long story. Yeah, we have all the time. We have all the time.
Panjang itu. Jadi when I graduate from high school, I went to Australia, right? Doing study horse management
Yeah.
and study about how to ride a horses also. Terus pulang ke Indonesia, udah gitu saya study lagi ke Belanda.
Wow.
Itu sekolahnya namanya Deurne, sekarang udah nggak ada.
Oh ya?
Jadi saya daftar ke sana, ke Deurne di Belanda. Nah pas di Belanda sebelum masuk sekolah itu ada tes. Jadi ada sekitar, nggak tahu saya lupa itu, 100 pertanyaan apa 50 pertanyaan.
Tentang kuda.
Iya semua. Why you with horses, blah blah, a lot of things. So after they check everything, terus saya dapat resultnya. Jadi sebelum masuk sekolah situ, semua orang yang sebelum masuk sekolah situ harus dites dulu, kayak psikolog, apalah semuanya lah, bakatnya di mana, baru nanti dia tempatkan gitu. Ya mungkin tahun awal general dulu. Terus sudah itu, jadi hasil tes saya itu mengatakan Budi Tulodo itu rider, horse trainer, dan dia bisa menjadi farrier. Itu yang saya, itu tahun 96 atau 95.
Oh my gosh, that's when I was born.
Jadi itu juga saya juga nggak nyangka. Tapi sebelum saya pergi ke Belanda, memang saya suka main sama tukang tapel.
Oh, yeah?
Suka iseng, helping the farrier or whatever, with the farrier. Sudah itu, udah. Saya pergi ke Amerika, di Amerika, saya udah lupa tuh semua yang dikatakan oleh sekolah Deurne itu. Bahwa Budi itu bisa farrier. Nah, sampai di Amerika saya berpikir lagi, apalagi yang saya harus sekolah gitu. Saya pengen sekolah lagi apa ya? Naik kuda udah, manajemen udah. Sebetulnya ada lagi, saya waktu itu mau balik ke manajemen, tapi saya bilang enggak. Saya tahu di Indonesia that we need somebody who understand about hoof.
Yeah, that's
how
right.
to shoe horses. And I knew an old farrier, Indonesian old farrier, they were learning from Australia. That was a long time ago, then I don't even know, but I knew some of them. Then I just thought, okay, I just learned how to shoe the horse. Then I went to Kentucky Horse Shoeing School for half year and then another half year. Then I graduated from Kentucky Horse Shoeing School. So the main thing when I was there is you have to pass the theory.
The theory.
So they don't care about how to shoe horses, but the theory first, to understand the mechanical of the hoof.
Yeah.
How the hoof grow.
Yeah, yeah.
What is inside the leg, below knees, what is inside there, everything. Then you have to pass minimum 67.
Percent.
Yeah.
Ini teorinya berapa lama belajarnya sebelum
Setengah tahun.
exam? Setengah tahun, 6 months. Ini untuk qualification apa, Pak Budi?
That's only graduate from the Kentucky Horse Shoeing School.
Itu belum qualification for the farrier.
Then you go to the association.
Then you go to the association.
Without association, without you go to association, you can also shoe, but with association is a lot better because they ask you again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of question.
Oh yeah.
Because at the association they have kan ada journeyman, before the journeyman certified.
Oh, certified ya.
Then after I graduate, I took the test again with the association. Then I passed the certified farrier. Then after that, another year after I passed, a lot of farrier they always said, "You better just continue study again before you start working, because once you start working, you'll be busy and you probably forgot about study." So I tried to the journeyman. So journeyman is difficult because you have to shoe horses and then you have to make the shoes on the spot.
Oh yeah, from scratch ya.
Yeah, from scratch. So you see the foot, then you measure the steel, you cut it, and they time it. Okay, start, and we start make the shoe. So
cool.
That we get 2 hours to shoe horses.
4 shoes.
4. One horse, there are 4 shoes. So each shoes, that mean you cut, then you put it on, you done with one foot, has to be 2 hours, is 120, right?
Yeah, 20, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like
30 minutes.
20, 25 minutes, like that.
Wow.
It has to be done. Then after that, like an eagle eye, but they put the plate, made plate shape as shoes. Then they just have to show you this is the foot. Then you have to imagine, oh, this how much, you know. Then you make it again.
So this is untuk the journeyman certification ya.
Yeah.
And then you pass that also.
Then I didn't pass, but I took the test, but I have to take another test again, but then I left.
Oh, you left.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it. Because I said, okay, I delay, postpone.
Delay.
And after
Ini
that.
what year?
Huh?
Ini what year, Pak Budi?
What year?
Yeah, that you did the test of the journeyman thingy.
That was 2008, 2009.
Oh, wow. Jadi, you moved to the US 95?
No, 2002.
2002.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
then come back here is 2020.
So that means you did the certifications antara 2002 sama 2000.
No, I start 2007.
2007. Oh, so you did it in 2 years.
Yeah,
3 years.
2 years, 3 years actually. Then yeah, it's a pity. I should have done the
Journeyman thing.
German. I mean.
Can you still go back and do it?
Yeah, we can, but I have to see the schedule. That need probably 2 months to say.
Yeah.
In the in the test from the association, there is 3 tests. One is a theory again.
Yeah.
Second is how to shoe. That's for the certified, and then how to make, how to modify the shoes from the keck shoe, from the shoe that already made.
Yeah.
Then the journeyman is you make the shoe
From scratch.
from scratch. Then you have to pass the theory first.
Oh, also another
Yeah,
exam.
every
Wow,
test
banyak
has
ya? Ini written exam ya?
written exam. Then this is not a game. They test
Wow.
you. But they have the manual book before, then you have to learn. That's
Yeah,
up
yeah,
like 200 questions.
Wow. Gila ya,
Yeah.
it's so serious. I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
it's almost like a doctor.
Oh yeah, and there is some of doctor too.
Vets,
They
yeah.
learn, yeah. Vet, they learn how to shoe horses.
Wow.
And there is one guy, Steve O'Grady.
Oh wow.
That's a really good guy. He only shoe a problem food,
horses.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
problem. But he's a vet.
Keren
He
banget.
told me, Budi, after I become a vet, and after that I learned how I like shoeing horses, then I quit the vet, then he went to the
Gila.
shoeing school.
Gila ya, career switch. Padahal
Yeah. Then after that, when he done with from the farrier school, then he become a vet and farrier. Then he only he only
special.
doing special for
Iya ya,
lameness.
bagus ya. Apa momen paling membanggakan atau paling sulit yang dialami Pak Budi selama belajar farrier di US?
Momen yang sulit, semuanya sulit.
Pasti capek sih.
Momennya tuh yang sulit winter saya nggak suka.
Winter ya. Oh, because it's cold.
Yeah, because when you get out of the house, it's really cold, man.
Virginia ya.
Yeah,
Dingin banget sih.
Virginia is that cold, but cold. Jadi ya apa ya, getting client, that's
getting clients
very
also.
difficult because to get a client is not easy as a new farrier, and then you are in America and I'm not American,
Mm-hmm.
so they still not, this guy can do it or not, But I hang out with those Americans, so we do it, and then I just work with him. But once I do it by myself, it's a lot of question because their horse owner, they also has knowledge about
Yeah.
who. That's
Yeah.
the things,
So you have to know a lot.
Yeah.
in
And then before you shoe the horse, then sometimes they ask, do you have an insurance?
Oh yeah.
Have you done with sport horse? Because in US, you can shoe in different level of horses.
Yeah.
You can shoe a horse for hobbies, like, they just have a horse. That's easy. Then you go to maybe there is some they like sport. That's the hardest part,
Iya. Kalau misalnya, did you have an unforgettable moment mungkin di US that like really strikes out kayak ini aku inget this moment bagus, like it's such a good moment in the US. Anything that you remember? Fun times, hard times?
Fun time or bad time? Fun time is when I passed the test, the exam from the association, because the exam from association is very difficult.
Oh ya?
It's not like a school. At school you learn every day,
Yeah.
But with association it's hard. And I live in Virginia, and some tests it's not in Virginia. Sometimes you have to go to New York.
Oh,
You
yeah?
have to go to North Carolina.
So you travel a lot.
Yeah. Then when you pass, the theory I have no problem, But the problem is when you have to shoe a horse, because they have a time. They time like an hour. Then when I pass, and also modification shoes. And I was like, wow, I passed this. Because it's very hard. Because it's
Yeah.
not like you're doing a test, after 1 week, you knew the result. Sometimes you just do the theory, then the next one you have to go to North Carolina, do the practical, and make a cake shoes.
Yeah.
When I passed, I was just, oh man, this is...
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Feels good lah. I mean like you work very hard ya. Pasti for this is very significant banget ya. So
Yeah.
artinya kalau misalnya Pak Budi kan di situ 18 tahun sebagai, was it just farrier atau
No.
juga kerja or sambil certified atau gimana?
When I was in
Tanya.
when I was in the state, I was with family, right?
Oh, their family.
Yeah. Then I still ride.
Oh, you
Then I work with one of the barn is a riding club.
Oh.
I work there as a supervisor, and after that I said no, this is not my job. I mean I've done this,
Yeah.
So I do it by myself. I mean self-employed.
Self-employed.
So I just put my name on advertise. Somebody wants to ask me to train their horse or bring the horse to the show. Then from there I start. Then went to school.
For the farrier.
Yeah, so when I passed the school and I become a farrier, I also train horses still. It's like in Indonesia now.
Wow.
So like in the morning, sometime in the morning, I shoe horses, come back to the barn, probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I rode 2 horses or 1 horse.
Wow.
It's like that.
Double job.
Yeah.
Kayaknya di Indonesia belum ada deh kayak gitu.
Saya kan pakai.
Pak Budi, keren banget.
Yeah.
You must work so hard. I cannot imagine.
But there,
In the afternoon,
yeah,
working.
there is a lot of farrier also they ride.
Yeah, that's
Only in Indonesia, that a lot of farrier is not riding. They don't even know how to ride.
Atau misalnya groom yang di sini kayak groom tapi nggak tahu how to ride. Whereas like abroad, if you're a groom, you most of the time pasti naik.
Tahu,
Karena kan they have to be exercise girl or exercise riding boy gitu. So, boleh cerita dong kehidupan Pak Budi sebagai show jumper or rider dulu, dan sekarang you're doing both. You're a show jumper for is it Nirwana ya?
Yeah.
And then you're also a farrier, teaching so many farriers around Indonesia. What is it like now? Like, is there a difference atau kayak now you're doing both? How is it? How is it being a rider and a farrier? It must be busy.
Jadi waktu saya senang naik pasti. Sampai sekarang pun saya masih bertanding kan.
Iya.
Dan ya saya pasti masih mau naik terus sampai kapan, sampai saya nggak bisa naik. Dan when I do both, because I do both is already when I was in the state. Jadi ya senang sih. Jadi kita tahu gitu gimana kuda kalau langkahnya nggak bener. Terus kenapa kuda ini kok stumble. Jadi saya kadang-kadang dulu waktu di Amerika saya praktekin sendiri. Oh ini kuda mungkin toe-nya too long. Ya senang. Dan yang bikin senang lagi saya, memang kepulangan saya itu, saya memang niat untuk membangun equestrian di Indonesia. Memang saya banyak berjalan sendiri. Mungkin dari asosiasi atau dari federasi juga dulu pernah minta. Cuma saya banyak berjalan sendiri memang. Sekarang saya lebih senangnya lagi saya bisa bantu teman-teman saya yang farrier, yang dia tadinya nggak ada knowledge. Sebetulnya pemotongan kuku itu bukan, kukunya ini udah berubah. Sebetulnya it's not the hoof is changed or whatever it is, but it's because the farrier doesn't understand. Then the hoof changed.
Yeah, because
they follow the hoof, maybe the hoof like not balanced, and the farrier start saying, oh, because the farrier doesn't have knowledge, or this is not balanced. And they just follow what the hoof grow.
Iya.
Actually, it's not. That's why a lot of, ya mungkin sekarang sudah banyak dokter-dokter muda yang lebih mengerti why that horse is lame, why that horse is get tendon, why that horse get a suspensory ligament or a navicular bone problem. That's most of the time is because of shoeing.
Yeah.
That's what I learned in Kentucky at Dr. Morrison.
Oh, Dr. Morrison. In the US ya?
Ya. Dia buat shoe. Dia bilang rumah sakit ini yang datang 75% is about lameness.
Oh ya?
Iya. Yang lainnya ya polik apa nggak terlalu banyak. Cuman memang kuda tuh kalau ditapelnya nggak bener, dia akan berubah. Jadi saya bisa mengatakan sekarang, dulu waktu saya kecil, kan ada kuda-kuda impor juga kan?
Iya.
Itu selalu, wah kalau kuda impor di Indonesia tuh kukunya jelek, nggak bisa, dia nggak bisa bagus karena udaranya. Actually, it's not that. It's we don't have the people who understand about shoeing.
Yeah, benar ya. So that's why education is super important.
Yeah.
So like why do you think going on back balik lagi ke the education and the farriers tentang harus mengerti ya. Kira-kira what do you think is a reason why you are like the only registered farrier in Indonesia. Like, why do you think, like going back to the education, kan you're coming back here to let people know about tentang farrier education dan betapa pentingnya nggak hanya belajar untuk tapo, tetapi edukasinya membelajar. Itu kira-kira, why do you think until now there's only you? Kayak I don't see. It's difficult, like I don't know.
Kamu mau jawaban honest nggak?
Boleh nggak? Honest aja.
Waktu saya kecil dulu kan farrier is nothing, man.
Oh really?
Yeah. If you want to be farrier, long time ago, you're not gonna have a good life.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, of course. Because the problem in Indonesia is they don't not respect, menghargai apa?
Oh yeah, they don't value value people
skill.
The skill ya.
Yeah. Jadi farrier itu skill kan, dan waktu saya menjalankan seperti saya mau menjadi profesional, that time is very difficult. Cause show is only once a year, twice a year, and yeah, it's not many people wants to be a rider. They just want to ride a horse. But to me, I don't care. I said, look, the first thing when you do something right, you have to be happy first, right?
Yeah.
Once you're happy, then you can create.
That's right. You can be passionate about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
I mean, whether you can make a lot of money or not, that's another side, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jadi saya di situ, makanya di situ saya lihat, ya saya memang senang nih kuda, jadi susah.
Yeah. What is the biggest like misconception about the profession of farrier di Indonesia that orang masih believe, padahal actually it's not true? What's something?
Believe what? Like,
so what is something yang people think about farriery di sini yang mungkin actually enggak benar gitu?
Yeah.
Kan ada banyak mitos atau mungkin kayak misalnya contoh, oh kamu nggak usah belajar untuk menjadi tapel, kamu hanya lihat-lihat aja terus bisa terus langsung taruh gitu. What's your thoughts tentang itu?
Ya itulah yang that's the biggest problem in Indonesia. Kan saya buat klinik di Indonesia dari tahun 2013. Saya pulang pergi terus dari 2013, 6 bulan kemudian saya balik lagi buat klinik untuk farrier. Karena saya tahu memang farrier di Indonesia hampir tidak punya knowledge. Dia hanya autodidak.
Iya benar, otodidak ya.
Oh, you have to this. Oh, the hoof. Because the hoof is already like this bad. Nah, saya kasih pengetahuan itu, tapi dari tahun 2013 sampai 2017, saya bolak-balik terus tuh ke Indonesia. Dari per 6 bulan, per 5 bulan, per 4 bulan, lama-lama per 2 bulan.
Wow, that's crazy. Itu you pay on your own?
No, ya waktu saya klinik, terus ya dia pay semua for traveling.
Wow.
Nah, jadi disitulah saya lihat bahwa apa yang saya berikan itu banyak tidak masuk. Karena apa? Ya tadi mitos. Jadi karena dia sudah belajar dengan mungkin bapaknya atau kakeknya atau temannya, ya dia ini kuda nggak pincang kok, saya tapel begini aja gitu. Why do I have to learn more, you know? Yeah. And if I don't learn more, I still earn money.
Iya.
That's the thing. Dan sesudah itu saya move to Indonesia, saya buat, lama-lama saya lihat, this is not gonna happen. Make a clinic, 3 days, 1 week, that's not. Because the problem is their mind. Ya, itu yang sekarang harus saya pikirkan untuk merubah mindset-nya dia. To be honest and sorry, because a lot of them they from low education.
Yeah.
But education is not about how high the degree you graduate. But if you want to learn as a farrier, that's also education, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to learn that. Itu yang harus dibangun sekarang di Indonesia.
Yeah. So that means mungkin something that I could ask juga is, what is something you think the current Indonesian farriers who are not certified should do? What should they do atau what should they know dengan knowing this kan? Obviously ada banyak farrier yang upcoming, yang baru, yang muda. What is something yang mungkin a mistake, ya kan, yang mistake yang dulu kan orang kurang mau belajar atau kurang mau taruh niat atau effort untuk membelajar lebih dari apa yang mereka udah tahuin. Sekarang that's obviously a mistake, right? Because as orang profesional dengan kuda, kita nggak pernah berhenti belajar. We never stop learning. We always have to learn all the time, even until we die. Kita juga harus kayak sebagai seorang yang bekerja sama kuda, kan kita selalu kalau bisa afford it, kita selalu mau ambil banyak certification, qualification, jadi bisa learning more daripada aku udah tahu gini, I will stop gitu. So mungkin dari pandangan Om Budi, kira-kira what is something yang you think these farriers should know then? Kalau dengan problem, kan kita udah tahu problemnya, what do you think they should know or what should they do gitu?
What they should do is, I think, what should I do? Which is I should make a class,
make classes,
a school.
Make a school,
But the problem is if I start making school, like shoeing school or shoeing school, it's a trade school, right?
Yeah, a trade school, benar.
Ya, itu memang jadi kendalanya mereka ini kan kebanyakan dari low income. Itu yang saya sekarang buat, seperti saya start dari Emporium. Pak Seno hubungin saya, "Bud, tolong dong, farrier saya diajarin buat klinik 3 hari, 4 hari. Terus saya bilang mau Pak Seno, kalau untuk 3 hari, 4 hari percuma, mendingan saya nggak datang gitu. Jadi gimana? Ya 1 tahun. Wah, jadi gimana kan pasti orang kan lihatnya, wah saya harus bayar Budi 1 tahun nih gimana gitu kan?
Iya.
Ya sekarang saya juga, berarti kan saya harus membuat satu sistem. Dibuatlah sama saya satu sistem, saya bilang ada berapa ekor di sana. Waktu itu ada 26 ekor kalau nggak salah. Tukang tapelnya 1, Mat Fidin, itu yang sekarang sama saya terus. Nah, jadi saya bilang 1 tahun Pak Seno. Jadi gimana bayarannya? Ya setiap saya datang ya saya shoe kudanya, saya tapelin kuda-kudanya. Urusannya Mat Fidin itu ya sama Pak Seno, bukan sama saya. Kan karena kebenaran Pak Seno itu hire Mat Fidin sebagai farrier kan.
Benar.
Nah, dia mau nggak belajar? Ya udah. Jadi saya shoe. Terus saya bilang sama Mat, sebelum 1 tahun kuda saya harus 0. Jadi berapa bulan sebelum setahun, Mat Fidin bilang, "Oh Budi udah nggak perlu kesini, kenapa? Udah habis kudanya." Ya sudah. Berarti dia udah bisa tuh.
Iya. Benar. So that's what you're doing now ya? Ini juga sama dong sama yang Nirwana ya?
Kalau Nirwana kan saya memang di sana.
You're based there ya?
Nah, terus habis Emporium, Bali kebenaran juga ada Wahyu.
Oh ya, Wahyu ya.
Nah, Wahyu itu kan dia mau belajar, dia punya motivasi malah. Tadinya dia messenger saya atau DM tuh. Bilang saya mau belajar, Om. Ya udah kalau mau belajar, kamu maunya gimana belajarnya? Oh ya saya kalau Om datang saya mau ikut-ikut aja belajar. Oh ya udah kalau kamu mau belajar gitu, you have to go to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because if you want to learn, you learn good. You learn until you know. But if you just learn for when you have time, I said no, you're wasting my time.
Yeah, you have to be.
Because first, I don't get paid from you, then I will pay you, and you're good, you know?
Benar.
Then it's waste for me, you know? Then I went back to Java, to Semarang. 1 month later, or I don't know, a month later, and he WhatsApped me and he said, "I'm coming, I'm there." Okay. Then he stayed in Nirwana.
Oh yeah, I think he ever told me the story sedikit. Si Wahyu, he dropped everything and he moved.
Yeah.
He changed his whole life just to
be
to be with you, to study every day. I didn't.
Yeah. Then I said, okay, if you're in Nirwana, I don't pay you. I can give you food, then you accommodation, but you have to help the barn.
Yeah, I know.
He said, okay, I don't care. Okay. Then he learned. Then, unfortunately, I fell off from the horse, so I broke my ribs. Then he went back to Bali. But I think he was good.
Yeah, he's working with so many horses now.
Dan Kamali, he was working with Kamali, with Ibu Pia. Then I said to Ibu Pia, this guy wants to learn. But the thing is, when I'm in Bali, he has to come with me for 4 days or 3 days. Then he has to leave the job. And Ibu Pia said, okay, I support him. And I don't want to know about the transportation, food, everything. Then it has to be from Kamali. Okay. Then he learned. After, I don't know, probably 1 year, and then he start thinking. Because once you're good, you shoe other horses, then you earn money, right?
Yeah, you earn more money, yeah. I
Then
know,
you know.
Sure. How much money you can earn.
Yeah, like a day is probably 2 days or 3 days is like 1 month you earn, you know?
Yeah, benar.
Then I said, yeah, you have to deal with Ibu Pia. Then they still get along, then still help Ibu Pia. And he's become a professional farrier. Then since COVID, I was in Bali. COVID until last year, November. And Wahyu said, everything is good. Okay.
Yeah, he's very cool. Itu inspiring banget sih si Wahyu story with Om Budi ya.
Kamu bisa bayangin, dia belajar, udah bisa. Kan klien saya juga banyak di Bali kan.
Iya, benar.
Habis itu, dia ada klien dari saya semua, terus lama-lama, udah ini punya kamu semua, saya tinggal. Karena enak kan, udah belajar, semua dapat. Nah itu.
Iya, itu bagus banget sih.
Yeah.
Itu artinya si Wahyu is like a good example ya. Jadi kira-kira what type of personality atau qualities yang diperlukan oleh seorang yang mau menjadi atau sudah jadi farrier? Like someone like yourself or Wahyu, what's the good qualities yang kamu pikir?
Iya, satu horsemanship udah pasti.
Horsemanship, ya.
Karena kadang kan tukang tapel tuh capek, ngangkat kaki, kudanya gerak-gerak, dia marah, atau dia kadang suka pukul kan. Memang nggak bisa kita hindari karena udah capek emotionnya. Jadi dia juga mesti tahu, kamu ngangkat kaki kuda itu kan kuda juga nggak comfortable gitu. Jadi kamu harus buat dia comfortable. Nah itu farrier di sini tuh masih suka nggak berpikiran ke situ. Cara ngangkat, cara ngejepit itu ada sebenarnya. Cuman ya mereka mesti banyak belajar.
Jadi horsemanship skills itu nomor satu. Jadi intinya tahu mengenal atau mengerti tentang well-beingnya kuda, welfare kudanya lah ya.
Iya, kalau nggak susah.
Any other ini nggak good qualities? So,
ya dia mau, yang pertama dia harus knowledge, theory first.
Theory ya.
Dia harus tahu theory-nya first, mechanical kuda, gimana kuku itu bekerja, gimana kuku itu tumbuh, di dalam kuku itu ada apa aja, ada lamina, ada white line, a lot of things. Yeah.
Bisa nggak sih kalau orang biasa, like someone yang nggak pernah, yang awam, nggak pernah kerja sama kuda atau apa, belajar sama Om Budi, tapi mau jadi farrier misalnya?
Ya bisa.
Bisa ya?
Iya, tapi ya itu dia harus terus. Jadi kalau begitu pas saya ada waktunya napel, dia harus datang. That's the only thing that you improve a lot. This is the same like riding. When you ride a horse, if you only ride once a week, then you want to jump. You want to be at the show, good in the show. But you ride her once a week. You just enter the arena then go out again.
Iya sih.
Ya, jadi memang harus terus.
Dedicated ya.
Dedicated. Yeah.
Jadi kira-kira dari kan cerita Wahyu sama Om Budi, that means Wahyu kan belajar sekitar 3-4 bulan ya di
Nirwana.
Ya, di Nirwana every day with Om Budi. Terus baru mulai napel sedikit sini sana.
Nah, itu di Bali.
Itu di Bali ya, setelah 3-4 bulan
Iya, tapi kan terus saya ke Bali. Nah, Wahyu jadi asisten saya terus. Setiap saya datang ke Bali, dia selalu sama saya.
Kira-kira itu berapa lama, Pak Budi, sampai Wahyu beneran lepas, like bisa sendiri?
2 tahun lebih dia.
2 tahun lebih ya? Wow, takes a while ya.
Iya, yang Matfidin juga sama saya sampai sekarang. Ada lagi yang di Jawa Tengah, Jari. Jari itu ya dia belajar bener-bener mau. Jadi setiap ada masalah, dia langsung manggil saya, tolongin. Nah itu lucunya lagi Jari, ketemu saya kan tahun 2017. Saya buat klinik ke Semarang. Dia taunya kan saya dari Amerika. Jadi dia selalu bilangnya bukan Pak atau Mas, Mister.
Mister Budi.
Dia setiap kenal saya, Mister. Jangan Mister terus.
Ada nggak kasus like shoeing yang paling susah banget nggak di sini di Indonesia, like compared to like your normal shoeing in the US atau your pop? Is there a difference nggak? Ada special?
Ada.
Difference?
Itu hampir semua case itu sama sebenarnya. Cuma kan populasi kudanya di Amerika lebih banyak.
Yeah.
Di Indonesia kan nggak seberapa banyak dari Amerika. Jadi kasusnya nggak kelihatan banyak. Padahal sebetulnya banyak di Indonesia. Dan saya berapa kali nemukan kasus seperti laminitis. Ya. Laminitis itu kan perpisahan hoof wall, white line, sama coffin bone. Itu juga bisa dari makanan, bisa juga salah penapelan, tapi itu jarang sekali salah penapelan. Atau
Biasanya
kuda
dari
itu nggak pernah
makanan,
dipotong. Ya, yang paling besar itu makanan.
Iya, makanan, aku jelasin sedikit. Makanan, jadi hoof wall-nya kalau laminitis, ntar ada pop-up-nya. Laminitis itu hoof wall-nya memisah dari laminanya kayak gini. Terus sakit banget untuk kuda, dan ini penyebabnya adalah terlalu tinggi pati atau starch di dalam sistem kuda. Sama sugars, yang itu biasanya didapatkan dari terlalu banyak pelet, kan? Biasanya karena kan yang kronik biasanya rata-rata jadi laminitis. Jadi pentingnya rumput sama rumput kering untuk mencegah laminitis. Lebih banyak pellet, kamu akan lebih banyak kolik, lebih tinggi resiko ke hoof. Gitu sih.
Ya, hoof juga, masalah hoof tuh laminitis juga bisa dari treatment. Kadang ada dokter make terlalu strong obatnya, atau kudanya nggak siap, atau kudanya memang kondisinya nggak terlalu bagus. Nah itu ada beberapa case yang saya temukan gitu. Jadi di treatment, tapi terlalu strong. Yang kena itu antara kuku atau perut biasanya. Ya perut itu kan.
Side effect of the
Iya, gitu. Tapi itu jarang sih, cuman ada beberapa case yang kemarin saya temuin. Saya ini kemarin banyak menangani laminitis.
Oh ya?
Iya. Itu kukunya malah udah jalannya sudah begini.
Kasian banget.
Tapi kuda masih berdiri. Nah, satu lagi yang harus diketahui untuk kesehatan, banyak di sini yang namanya dokter begitu laminitis, dia hanya kasih obat. Sebetulnya laminitis itu kan ada infeksi. Dokter kasih antibiotik atau apalah, saya nggak tahu. Tapi tidak bisa hanya dengan obat. Penapelannya yang harus dirubah juga. Jadi saya menemukan beberapa case begitu, sama dokternya didiemin aja, cuma dikasih obat. Saya bilang nggak bakal sembuh. Kudanya tidur terus. Lama-lama kuda kalau nggak bisa bangun kan tidur terus ya mati lah.
Iya, for sure. They cannot. Ya itu kan penting banget, soalnya kuda harus jalan. Tanpa jalan, kalau mereka berdiri aja di kandang atau tidur aja di kandang, itu mereka pasti lebih cepat to die atau meninggal.
Sama satu lagi tuh ini antara farrier and vet itu selalu berhubungan. Gitu. Jadi harus diikutin. Ini kenapa kuda ini pincang? Jadi dia harus ada yang mau mengikuti satu ekor kuda gitu. Sampai umur berapa dia ikutin kemana. Nah itu kan bisa dilihat perubahan kukunya.
Intinya communication super important nih.
Oh iya.
Because like I feel like that's the same juga sebagai saddle fitter. Aku kirim report aku ke dokter hewan kuda juga. Jadi it's quite cool karena ownernya jadi bisa tahu atau mengerti dengan full kenapa punggung kudanya sakit, nggak hanya karena perawatan, tapi mungkin karena variable atau faktor-faktor lain. So ini makanya kalau kita ada kuda, biasanya kan satu kuda ada banyak banget orang yang involved di hidup kita, dari farrier, groom, rider, trainer, dentist, semuanya banyak banget ya. Jadi betapa pentingnya sebagai horse owner atau rider, bahwa kalau misalnya ada ketemu orang seperti farrier atau saddle fitter, kita juga linknya dengan dokter hewan atau groomernya. Jadi semua orang tahu informasi yang full kenapa kudanya itu sakit atau ada isu dengan hoof, karena itu biasanya pasti link.
Iya, itu memang sekarang sih udah jauh lebih baik ya. Jadi orang-orang banyak mengerti saddle itu harus yang benar. Kan banyak kuda sakit nggak mau lari, nggak mau ini, nggak taunya di withernya lecet atau di backnya itu banyak masalahnya. Nah, kadang dokternya datang ya cuma nyembuhin itu, tapi dia nggak tahu duduk permasalahannya di mana ini.
Something like that lah. Itu contohnya ya.
Kuku, saddle itu penting banget.
So, can you tell us about your mission untuk improve equine education in Indonesia? what inspired you lah to take this path, and like what plans or what's like the kind of like impact do you hope to achieve here in the next few years? Misalnya in 5 years, what do you see yourself doing like with the farriers here in Indonesia?
Sudah pasti education. First thing is education. Education in horses, that's a lot of things that we have to build, to change. It's not only for the people who work there, but to not only also for the rider or the trainer, but also for the horse owner. That's knowledge, first thing. And without education, I think in the next 5 years, people only knows how to ride a horse, but they don't even understand what the horse should do, how comfortable the horse with you. So in riding, I think the best thing they have to learn for the riding school in Indonesia, those people who train or who is a trainer, they have to, they have to learn again. They have to learn how to teach people how to ride in the classical riding. Because riding is not about how you jump, turn right, make a circle, no. The riding is about how you and the horse is comfortable. How to make the horse balance. And a lot of people here now is make it easier, they use draw rein in a riding school.
Oh my goodness.
But if you, in Europe, I believe in Europe, in America, riding school, the first thing they teach you is how the horse to go forward from your leg.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I did not learn with draw reins either. They don't allow.
Yeah, in England, no. That's that. Yeah, draw rein is I believe draw rein is only used for professional.
Yeah.
First thing when you ride a horse, you have to know the feeling between your finger through his mouth. So that's the thing I think that Indonesia has to
learn so more about
those riding club in Indonesia that has to understand. And also for the rider, the beginner, even though novice rider, they should know how to tag the horse.
Benar. Tacking your own horses, education, and riding forward. Selain mengerti tentang kaki kuda. Those are good things. Any tips or tricks nggak, Pak Budi, untuk rider atau horse owner yang mereka harus tahu tentang their horse feet? Yang penting lah, a few.
Yang penting shoeing cycle. They have to understand. Some people, when I call, hey, look, your horse is due. I mean, the hoof is due. The shoe is still there.
Oh my gosh.
But they don't realize that the hoof is growing, you know? It's like our nail is growing. Then you have to cut it. The shoe may stay on, but the hoof is growing. Then once it's growing, that means the horse become imbalanced. That's gonna hurt the joint, everything. Tendon. That's the horse owner should understand. So it's not about the shoes still on. So it's about the shoeing cycle.
The shoeing cycle.
If the horse being used for sport, probably every 4 weeks is good. But if the horse is not being used so much, that's probably 5. 6 is too long.
6 is too long,
So why the horse that being ridden a lot has to shoe short in the short cycle, like 4 weeks, because the foot is pumping, right? It's stamped to the ground, then make the blood pressure, then they grow faster, rather than the horse who stay not exercising. So that the tips for me, for the
shoeing
horse.
Cycles is super important.
Shoeing cycle is very important.
I think juga the shoeing cycle juga is like even when the hoof when the shoe, just to add on aja ya, kayak misalnya kadang-kadang ada sepatu yang lepas tuh karena kan terlalu lama.
Iya, udah lama.
Udah lama
Yeah.
nggak
Potong.
not chewing cycle-nya lebih lama daripada apa yang harus waktunya untuk di napel.
Betul.
And then mereka lupa to call the farrier, and they leave it for 3-4 days, and then the horse ends up standing on one side, and then you end up going there and like, hey, the horse is actually wonky, tapi masih dinaikin. And then, or the farrier lupa that it's wonky and they leave it like that.
Leave it, So they put on only one shoe there. Right?
Yeah, so that's something that I see, like they did not shod it to make it even, and then they shoe it. They just like put a new shoe on, but then forgot that the horse is already standing like this. Yeah, that's why it's so important, guys. Kalau misalnya kalian tuh lose a shoe, kemungkinan karena kukunya terlalu panjang, artinya itu udah lewatin waktunya untuk ditapel. Makanya itu pentingnya sebagai horse owner atau rider, kalian harus taruh di kalender. Makanya itu kapan terakhir ditapel, terus kira-kira kapan harus manggil orang tapelnya sebelum terlalu panjang, terus lepas, terus beberapa harinya kudanya nggak bisa dinaikin, ntar ribet. So, okay. Last but not least nih, Pak Budi, what would be your final message untuk semua orang, whether mereka tuh mau jadi farrier atau bahkan yang memang mungkin belum paham full tentang farrier atau mau memasukin karir farrier, what's like any final words lah?
Untuk di kuda ya semuanya.
I mean, any. Ya
harus apa ya? Kalau mau jadi rider ya harus tahu untag, tag. Kalau mau jadi farrier ya dia harus mau mempelajari itu dari cara jalannya kuda, mekanisme kuku gimana, itu yang paling penting. Sama passion. Kalau di kuda tuh passion sudah. Mau dia rider, mau dia farrier, itu passion. Dan horsemanship lah, yang paling penting.
So it means welfare, kesejahteraan sama well-being kudanya.
Jadi kita mesti tahu lah kalau kuda misalnya jadi rider ya nggak bisa kita pukulin kudanya atau marah sama kuda. Nah kalau jadi farrier juga sama. Kalau dia napelnya nggak bener, kan kasihan kudanya, sakit. Padahal kudanya kan nggak bisa ngomong.
Iya benar, they cannot talk ya.
Iya, kalau dia sakit mungkin penapelannya nggak balance, dia bilang aduh saya nggak enak nih tapalnya yang sebelah kiri. Ya itulah, jadi welfare.
Horse welfare is super important. Kesejahteraan hewan, memenuhi kebutuhan dasar hewan kuda, penting banget sebagai semua orang yang ingin punya profesi dengan kuda atau dengan hewan. Any hewan ya kan? Betul. Super important. Ini nggak, Om Budi ada nggak terakhir sebelum kita closing nih, ada nggak kalau misalnya orang mau cari info tentang farrier selain menghubungi Om Budi, mereka bisa lihat nggak di online? What's a good website atau?
Nggak ada. Kalau di luar negeri ada, di Indonesia belum ada.
Ya kalau misalnya mereka ngerti Inggris lah, kira-kira mereka bisa ke website the American like to learn more about.
American Farrier or Farrier Association, European kayak gitu bisa.
Di websitenya ya?
Ya di FEI juga ada, cuman kan FEI kan nggak terlalu
deep ya?
Iya, gitu.
Tapi ada di FEI yang the free education online itu ya, juga ada. Later we'll link it down below guys, jadi kalian juga bisa lihat more about that from the links. Well, I think that's pretty much it dari kita di Eri. Thank you for being on our podcast. I mean, ini juga,
you're welcome. Thank you very much too.
It's been very nice to listen to your experiences dan rata-rata apa yang kita sebagai orang Indonesia yang kerja sama kuda harus improve ya. Main thing is education mungkin. Dan nggak boleh berhenti untuk membelajar even more.
With horses you cannot stop.
Cannot stop it. And I mean, you're already what, in your 60s?
Not yet.
Not yet. You're still
body,
So I mean, I'm in my 20s, but I'm growing and learning all the time. So, well, don't forget to subscribe and follow our Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Eri Media or Eri Salary and Eri.co.id for that matter. It's all going to be linked down below. And thank you to Pak Budi for being on our podcast and video today. And we'll see you guys in the next video of Eri Media. See you all. Bye.